Welcome to another Liquid Bullet Productions. Joining me today is professional karate instructor for over 36 years. Holds the Hall of Fame awards and also presenter of the UK Martial Arts Show, Mr. Paul Barnett. Thanks for coming, Paul.
Well, thanks for having me on here, Lee.
How are you doing today? You all right?
That's a long time, isn't it? That's a long time, 36 years. Yeah, I organised the Hall of Fame in England, and with Bob. Bob's my business partner, Bob Sykes, and I organised the UK Martial Arts Show.
Paul, can I just start with, obviously we've got quite a bit to go through, all your karate years, the Hall of Fame. You can tell us what that's about, and the UK Martial Arts Show, if we can go into a bit of depth with that. But first of all, could I just get a bit of history about yourself? Can we just roll back to the beginning, a little bit of where you was born and where you was brought
up? So mainly around the Burton-on-Trent area in Staffordshire, but I don't live there now. I live in a village near Ashby-de-la-Zouch, which is northwest Leicestershire.
Yeah,
I'm 51 now.
Yeah. So, what first inspired you or interested you into martial arts, Paul?
Do you know what? Nothing really. I just saw a poster, and I was okay at sports, like every other lad. I played football and stuff. Then I saw a poster on a lamppost. Then I saw it again in a shop, like learn karate. And I went, begged my mum, and my mum took me. And I walked in this Methodist, I think it was a Methodist church hall. And there's these guys. What I know now, they were doing the fifth kata, like Penang Godan, Wadaroo, a Wadaroo kata. And I've never seen anything like that before. I'd be like 11. It's like, wow, look at these, And I didn't know anyone else in the room. I think there's a couple of other lads from my school, sort of thing, but mainly blokes really. And that was that. I took a class, and I was hooked, But yeah, saw these. You grow up and you see my dad worked hard, and you see him come home from work and lying on the sofa, going to sleep, going to the pub or whatever, and all of a sudden then I'm in a room full of, let's say, young guys who are like, in their prime, athletes, doing karate, and it was just, what the heck's this, You think and I always say this to people: if you go to, maybe not in all schools, but your junior schools, infant schools, and a teacher will say, right, do a roly-poly, but they never show it. The teachers never actually did the roly-poly. So all of a sudden you've got, let's say, proper sports teachers, almost, although they were martial arts teachers, in front of them. And they weren't just average, they were like the best. Do you know what I mean? So it was two instructors, a guy called John Mills who passed away, and they were sort of best mates, John Jepson. And John's was really well known in the martial arts, more so for the business side of it. But I saw the other side to him in his early 20s when he was just an exceptional athlete. You know, his karate was really good. You know, and that was it. I was hooked, Lee. You know, that was it. I missed one lesson to my, you know, one or two. Once I was really, really ill, and then second time, I was promised this video from the video shop, no retreat, no surrender. And the only time I could get it was a Wednesday night. It was like, this is the only time you can get it. You know, I was like, and I didn't want to wait because I was a Bruce Lee fan, and it was like, you know, this Bruce Lee's not in it, but there's bits of it about Bruce Lee. So that was it. I'd hired this video and I got it Wednesday night, so I had to give up my karate class that night. So, but yeah, loved it.
How did you find the discipline side, like the regimental side to it when you first started?
I was always quiet growing up. You know, I literally didn't say much at all, really. So it was fine. You know, I didn't speak. You know, so I wasn't. I mean, I teach hundreds of kids now, and you know, most martial arts teachers will tell you a good lesson is where everyone's behaving themselves. You know, the kids, especially in a kids class, not an adults class. You know, but kids class, it's like you know, or you go with the intention of teaching X, Y, and Z, and you've completed that. You come away and like, yeah, you know, I got everything that I planned to do that lesson, and everyone did it properly. You know, sometimes you can come away and it's like, oh, you know, what happened today? You know, you know, but luckily, you know, I do an hour class and then I move to another place. And most days I do 3 classes, some days 4. So I'll do, whether it's a 45-minute lesson or an hour, sometimes it varies. And you know, once I've done that class, I can switch off and go to another class. You know, so even if, you know, a kid plays up, and it's a shame. Like I stick to the traditional karate as well, you know, or traditional wateroo. All right, I spin off and do, you know, pad work or whatever, but I very rarely play games. You know, it will be because if you do that, you're sort of making a rod for your own back. Do you know what I mean? So I go, do the walk. You know, we still do the traditional bows, kneeling bows. Do the warm up. We stretch. We do basics. We do combinations. We do a bit of pad work. We do a bit of pair work. We do kata, sparring. By then it's home time. So yeah, that's it. Sorry, long. So yeah, as far as the discipline thing, easy peasy. It was fun. I loved it.
How did you go sort of through your ranks, and what sort of age did you sort of go through to get to your Dan grades and stuff, Paul? And what grade are you up to now, even?
So this year I was awarded last year, sorry, I was awarded my 7th Dan by the British Karate Association.
Yeah.
Which is the oldest association in England, I believe. And then I was awarded it again by Alfie Lewis, which, you know, both were great honours, really. You know, I couldn't have asked for anything else, any more, really. I was, you know, the BK have been, you know, they took me for my first Dan when I was 14. And when I left my teacher, I didn't leave to sort of open my own school, but when I did open my own school, I rejoined the British Karate Association. And they're a great association. They just leave you alone. You know, it's like, here's X amount of pounds for some licenses that I need. I've got a grading at the end of the year. You turn up, you know, and that's that. And for a long time, especially as a younger person, I'd be on the phone to them every other day, and just, you know, it was them that got me in the magazine on the cover of Fighters and stuff like that. So it's important, you know, if you're opening your own school, is to have like the strength of a great association, I think, behind you know, and there's still some good association, you know. So yeah, I got my first Dan when I was 14, which was I did it, Lee, at Matlock Bath. It was a course years ago. People would not all the time, but if they had a lot of students, let's say, which my teacher did, John did, he'd get all his clubs together and grade on the same day, rather than different days, let's say. Not all the time. He'd do like a summer course or winter course, let's say. So, and this one time, I was the only one that did black belt, my first dan. And I had to, I did it in front of, there must have been 350 people there. I'm not exaggerating. It was the full size sports hall. There was a course during the day with Peter Considine and Brian Seabright, the BKA sort of head honchos, doing what they were doing at the time. And then it was gradings. And usually it'd be like the ninth cube, like the red belts, yellow belts. But they threw me in first. I think it was like, let's get it out of the way. So I was hoping everyone would have gone home by the time it was for me to grade, but I didn't. It was like to stand in front of 300 odd people, which was a bit daunting, to be fair. But again, I was you've got these people in front of you I'd never met before. Obviously, my teacher was there, and the panel, from the BKA, British Karate Association, and that was it. I did it in front of everyone, and and then I sparred with Brian Seabright, who, if people know their sort of karate history, Brian was a great fighter. He was more of a full contact fighter, and then he joined the BK. I think he originally was a boxer, then he went on to full contact, and he was regarded as the British Benny the Jet. And I'm having to fight this guy for my first stand. So yeah, in front of 300 odd people, it wasn't like, as a young man, as a 14-year-old, it was a bit daunting. I still use the same people to grade my students. So Brian's coming down in a couple of weeks. We've got about 20 people doing their black belts. So a couple of 6 dans, a couple of 4 dans, and the rest are like first and second dans.
Paul, have you always just trained with the traditional side of karate, or have you also stepped into the sort of sport side with the competing?
No, I competed at the FSKs, which would be the, let's say, early 90s, which you had to adapt. You couldn't have turned up there in a white karate suit, fighting like that, fighting backwards and forwards. You'd have just got battered. So yeah, me and my mates used to train. We went up, you see a few people, and it was Bob's Clash of the Titans videos and things like that. You'd see these great fighters, and I had a decent background. So when I did compete, I always did okay, but there was always people above me that I knew I wouldn't beat, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
People like Brian Nelson, Tom Wynn, Joe Turney. They were all in the same weight division as me, and they were just, next level. And I'm not afraid to say that. They were damn good fighters. So I always have a laugh with Tom Wynn when I see him. Tom's like, "Oh, you were scared to fight me, Paul." I wasn't scared to fight him. It just didn't happen, And I was a bit younger than Tom. I'd have given him a run for his money, but the result would have probably been like a foregone conclusion. Tom would have probably,
Did you also compete in the kata at all, Paul, as well, or not?
I did do kata competitions, and I probably should have done more because I'm decent at kata. I probably should have done a little bit more. I did local competitions and won a few trophies. In the FSKs, I was actually ranked. I think I was ranked 4th for about 4 years in my weight division, 4 or 5 years. But you only had to win a few. You only had to be placed in a few tournaments to stay on that pedestal, if that makes sense. So it sounds better than what it actually was. I'm not going to lie, but I've still got the magazines with my name in there. With all the other names in different weight divisions, like Alfie Lewis, Kevin Bruton, and So I'm quite proud of that.
Yeah, you had quite a tough era, really, Paul, because there was a lot of good fighters around that time, isn't there, for you?
I think I was lucky, Lee, because I've just come out of I just caught the back end of, let's say, the old school training. So in my class was pretty much adults. And then things changed a little bit when the Karate Kid film came out, other stuff, and when instructors realised we can make a business out of this, and we then things changed a little bit, So, but I can tell, I still tell stories from my sparring days in the 80s, as many as I guess everyone that did martial arts in the 80s can tell stories. Everyone will have a story to tell. So, and it's a shame. I don't think the people training nowadays will have those same stories unless they're unless they compete quite a lot. I think if they're in a run-of-the-mill school, let's say, which runs every day of the week, you won't see the last thing that school wants is injuries and black eyes and bloody noses. So, but back then it was proud of your injuries. It's like, oh, look at this.
I think the old health and safety stepped in a lot as well over here, isn't it now? Like years ago, I remember when I was a kid training, if you was messing about or not facing the right way, talking, a front kick or something to you would be the sort of answer you'd get. Where now you wouldn't sort of get that now, would you?
No. I've been hit hard over the years. I have, but like I say, my sparring days have stopped. Occasionally I'll jump in and spar with, a couple of the kids. That's it. So I don't spar anymore. So very rarely will I, spar.
So Paul, what age did you start to teach? And then how did you get involved in the teaching?
I was teaching for John from when I was about 14. From when I think 13 maybe. I was a purple belt. I remember teaching at Buxton at the Palace Hotel. Here's a guy, John used to have 80 students turn up on a Sunday morning in the beginners class, then 80 in the advanced class an hour later, all paying their £2. It was crazy. But John was very much like, oh, go down the front and teach kata. That was it. So, this, and I was shy at school. All of a sudden, the transition from being shy at school to teaching in front of all those people was quite, and no one really knew at school. The only time that someone picked up that I did that at school was when we had like a fitness test one day. And I pretty much beat everyone. And I did, and I wasn't, you've met me, Lee, I'm quite small. So there's all the rugby players and the football players, and it's like, right, got to do as many press ups in a minute, and I, thrashed him at that, I thrashed him at that, I thrashed him at that. So, but yeah, and this is what martial arts, it's, of course I'm going to be a little bit biased, but it's so good for people. And, it's so good in so many different ways, just social development stuff like that and fitness. So, but yeah, so I was teaching from a young age, 13, 14. Then I left school, had an apprenticeship with my dad, which didn't last very long. And John was saying, don't do that, do this, come and teach with me. So I sort of did a bit with John and had two clubs, one on a Wednesday, one on a Saturday. And it didn't really work out. It was, I was probably too young. And my mum and dad were a bit like, you're not paying tax, you're not paying national insurance and stuff like that. And that was part of the split then between me and my teacher, if that makes sense. We're still great friends now. In fact, I was around there the other day begging for like, he does acupuncture and I've got tennis elbow at them. So, but yeah, so I left then when I was about 16, 17, found girls obviously and found alcohol. And then I opened a club, my own club when I was about 18. I got asked to teach at a youth club because they knew I was a black belt, and then restarted, rejoined the British Karate Association. And then I started paying tax from when I was about 19. and did it, on a serious level from there, really. So yeah, I've been paying tax for a long time on martial
Yeah.
arts. Well, some years, some years. Thanks to nest management every year now, but but yeah, it's been Lee, it's been a great life for me. I could have
Yeah.
probably picked an easier one. Being a full-time self-employed karate instructor, it's almost laughable. It was at the beginning, not so much now. People know you can do okay out of it, and I do okay out of it. But at the beginning, Lee, it was tough. I made some stupid mistakes, putting big ads in newspapers, and of course they're like, do I pay now? No, we'll send you an invoice. So you put these huge ads in the front of newspapers or on the back page, and all right, your class fills up, but it doesn't warrant like a £350 advert in the paper.
Nah.
So yeah, I made some daft mistakes as a young man, but paid the price. So but you live and learn. So yeah, it's not been the easiest of roads, but I do quite well now.
Very successful club now, Paul, haven't you? How many different clubs do you run now?
Well, I've got about 28 clubs. At one point, I had a lot more, but they were cash clubs, and it was a little bit like let's open as many clubs as we can, let's do it as fast as we can, and I think I was up to about 54 clubs. But it sounds great, but sometimes it was like 3 at the same leisure centre, and so.
Yeah.
But yeah, at one time we had a student count. I'm sure it was just over 900. That's not. That was attendance. That was attendances in 1 week. Not so much students, but some people were going twice. But yeah, a hell of a lot of people. Now, not half that, but as things have changed, everyone pays monthly. It's almost like I've got a salary now. I know, I know where I stand now, sort of thing. So
Yeah.
everything's more structured now. Back then, when I had all those students, as quick as I earned it, Lee, I spent it. And if you knew me from this area, a lot of people say you're the guy that had the lotuses. That's even now they'll come up to me and say you've had that. I had a Lotus Esprit, I had a Lotus Elise, I had a Lotus Exige, I had a private plate kicked. I used to drive around thinking I was great. Meanwhile, the debts were piling up in the background. So
Yeah. Catching up with you.
They were, yeah. But I lived the dream for a bit.
Yeah. So Paul, can I ask you a little bit about? Obviously, you run an event called the Hall of Fame. Can I ask you a little bit about that and what that is?
It came about. I started doing events there. I've always done events. Having a karate school, you'll organise tournaments, you'll organise courses, things like that. So you get used to doing it. And then I started doing boxing dinners. I went to one, and I thought I wouldn't mind organising one of these. So I worked with a few boxers, which was interesting. Nigel Benn, Steve Collins, Frank Bruno, Alan Minter. I did that for a bit, and it was tough to make money doing those. The boxers charge a lot of money, So, and while I was doing that, I was thinking, why am I doing this when I'm a martial artist? Then the Power of Facebook, right? And I'm friends with Bill Superfoot Wallace. To me, this was amazing. It's like, what? Bill Wallace. I'm following this guy, and I watched this guy all my life, sort of thing. So I sent him a message. I thought, I just wonder if he'll come over and do like a tour, what he'll charge and stuff like that. Sent him a message. Within 2 minutes, he phoned me up. He said, "Do you want me to come to England or what?" I was like, "Yeah." He says, "Well, you're going to need me more." Because I said, "How much would it be for a weekend?" He says, "You'll need me for a couple of weeks." And he wasn't wrong. The time we had though, we fit. I'll get to what you're asking in a minute, Lee, but and it will add on to that. So I think me and Bill squeezed in 12 seminars. And as soon as I booked in, Bob put it in the magazine for me. Bob got wind. Bob put it in the magazine, put a full page ad, said, "Can we have Bill at our school, Paul?" I'm like, definitely. I wanted to meet Bob because I used to watch Clash of the Titans. I used to watch Bob fight. And there I am. Then I'm at Bob's gym with Bill Superfoot Wallace. And I'm stood talking to Bob outside, and I don't know, you know, people will tell you if you've ever gone up to Bob's club, it's a really friendly place. You know, he's got a great rapport with his people. Someone making cups of tea all the time, and they're training on the mats. The parents are talking. It's a great club. But there I am. Bill's teaching, and I'm talking to Bob, and I said, you know, how come you've never done a Hall of Fame, Bob, for the magazine? And he was like, well, let's do it. You know, you organise it, and we'll do it together. It was it was something like that. There, it was nothing like, there was no, you know, plan to it all. Anyway, because I'd been organising events, these boxing dinners, I'd got the venues, you know, and I ran them, got a price of meals and all that sort of stuff. And me and Bob made a short list of names. We met back up, and we'd pretty much got the same names. You know, we had you know, 2 pages of names, and the next job was to get their addresses. So we just messaged, you know, I messaged them all on Facebook. Bob did some. All of a sudden, we got a letter. We posted the letters out to them, and God, it sold out in weeks. You know, people were dying to get to it, and that was in 2011, I believe. And we're still doing it now. It's 2023, Lee, and we're on like our 18th. We've got one coming up in 2 weeks, and it's sold out, and they sell out all the time. You know, I think what it is, the winning sort of formula to it is, you know, we pepper famous martial artists in there, you know, so you can be sat at your table, and on the next table you've got someone maybe who you've seen in the movie or in the magazines or on the front cover of a magazine. Obviously Bob's there, who's, you know, a bit of a character, and people get recognition for what they do, and not just. And it's originally the first one. Yeah, we had all like let's say the superstars of Great Britain, and I'm not saying it filters down to the smaller people, but from day one, me and Bob said, right, let's not just aim for. I always refer to Alfie because Alfie was the best points fighter, let's say, in England. Let's not just aim for the Alfie Lewises. Let's find the guy who runs a class at the local village hall, and he's there every week. You know, whether it's raining, whether he's there on his own, no one turns up, or he's got 3 kids. Let's find that guy. You know, so, and that's you know, the person that's not famous in a magazine, the person, but in his own, you know, in his own way, he should have a bit of recognition, let's say. Yeah. And it works. You know, we find it. We've found these people every time we do an event. Someone will say, do you mind if I nominate this person? I'm like, yeah, who is it? Oh, he's like an 8th dan and lives in, you know, Milton Keynes or whatever. I'm like, and I've never heard of him. Bob's never heard of him. It's like, where these, you know, every time there's hidden martial artists that we keep finding, you know, these almost like these gems, you know, and the one coming up is no different. You know, there's some fantastic people there. There's not been one that we've done that's been, you know, why did we do this? You know, the people there, people have got stories, you know, everyone gets on together, which is great because if you know yourself, Lee, in the 80s, 90s, you wouldn't talk to the instructor down the road from you. You know, he'd be your enemy.
Strange, wasn't it, back then?
Some reason the guy in a club down the road would be your enemy, you know, and if someone walked in and said, can I try your school? I tried that one. You'd probably bag him off, you know. The reality is, you think about it, it does you no favors, you know, does you no favors at all. I've been to, you know, with Bill, I've worked with Bill Wallace now for 12 years, well, I guess it would be 12 years, yeah. And I've arranged 180 seminars for him, Lee. Every time he comes, I think we've done 18 tours. We were talking about it the other week. Last time he came, sorry, not the other week. And so I've been to so many different schools in England and Ireland and Scotland and Wales. And you know what? There's not much difference from one to another. Do you know what I mean? All right,
Yeah.
that one, you know, might have someone exceptional in that club, let's say, or that one has, you know, a better mat as you walk through the door or something. But they've all got the same passion, you know, which
Yeah.
is important. And when Bill's on the mat, they're all there, fixed on, you know, eyes fixed on Bill and doing the same thing. And
Yeah.
there's not one school I've been to where it's stood out from the one that, let's say, we've gone to the next day. You know,
Paul, can
all right.
I just step in there? Like, I'm sure everyone knows who Bill Superfoot Wallace is, but just in case there's any viewers that are not sure of him, can we just run a little bit through who he is and what he is?
So Bill was famous originally for being a middleweight kickboxing champion, the first ever middleweight kickboxing champion, when, you know, they decided to rename full contact karate into kickboxing. So it was Bill, Joe Louis, Jeff Smith, I can't think of the other guy, and Bill was the middleweight. It was televised in America, and then Bill had 23 professional fights, which he won. And in America, it was televised. You see, it was, there's that many channels. I can't think of the channel right now. But if Bill was here now, he's smacking me saying, "I told you what channel it was." So, and then he went on from there to do a few films, Chuck Norris and stuff like that. In between that, he taught for Elvis for a bit at Elvis's school, Elvis Presley's school. But he was mainly renowned for his fast kicks. So he got the name Superfoot. One of his coach named it him, basically. We were looking at a sign at an event. It said Superfoot long hot dogs or something like that. and his coach said, you know, we should call you Superfoot. His original name was Fast Billy. So, but yeah, he was a points fighter, then turned full contact fighter. But like I say, he was renowned for his kicking, his exceptional kicking. You know, I guess it would have happened eventually, but Bill was probably the pioneer of guys working on doing the box splits, you know, doing like 2, 3, 4, 5 kicks with the same leg, rather than the traditional one front kick, one round kick, one side kick, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, all of a sudden getting 4 or 5 kicks thrown at you with the same leg, you know. So, and that was Bill. So, and he still tours the world now. You know, in America, he's still got the best name. You know, there isn't one person I've not spoken to who doesn't know him. You know, or doesn't respect him. So the people. More recently, I've worked with Cynthia Rothrock and spoken to quite a lot of people as far as bringing them to my other event, you know, our other event, the UK Martial Arts Show, and they all say the same. You know, you're in great company with Bill. And again, in May next year, Lee, I've got a tour with him again, and I filled his tour up like that, 10 clubs straight away, no problem. You know, he's still in great demand. I mean, he's 78 this December. 78. And Lee, when he comes, I have to sort of pinch myself and remind me, because let's say we'll drive to a club in Bristol. He'll then eat a McDonald's, and Bill's theory is, if I eat McDonald's all the time, I won't get sick, because it's the same food as McDonald's. You know, it's the same everywhere, isn't it? So rather than me come to England and have a curry, let's say, and get a dicky tummy, he'll eat quite a lot of McDonald's, and he'll do his seminar. We'll get back in the car. He'll say, "Hey, why don't we stop at McDonald's again on the way back?" You know. So meanwhile, while he's teaching, sometimes I'll be asleep in the car, knackered from the travelling, and there's Bill doing a 2-3 hour seminar. You know, the guy is amazing, and this is what makes, you know, that difference between let's say, you know, decent martial artists and legends, and he's right up there. You know, he's right up there. He'll come out of his seminar day, and he'll say, "Did you see any of it, Paul?" I'm like, "Yeah, I caught the last. What do you reckon? How was my technique?" It's like, what are you asking me? You're Superfoot sort of thing. And he does a great seminar, and he knows how to work the crowd, let's say. It's brilliant. What a character.
Yeah.
So, but the same with Cynthia. Cynthia, I arranged a tour with her this year, and people, loved it. She got people have rebooked, so she's got another tour this year, next year, which I've organised, and Don Wilson. So, in May, around the martial arts show, I've got these 3 American legends. I've got them all 10 bookings each. I have.
Blimey.
So one person's taking Cynthia around for me. One person's taking Don around for me, and it's not difficult. We'll go. Will you run Don Wilson around for me for a week? People are like that. Me, please. I'll do it. I'll do it. So and that's how it sort of, that's how it's gone. I'm trying at the minute to get Richard Norton a tour. Got a few clubs interested, but with Richard, here's a guy who's super talented, but he's sort of jack of all trades. If that makes sense. So he's a guy who, he looked after ABBA for a long time, didn't he? And Mick Fleetwood, Mick Fleetwood. This is the story how, I don't know if you knew, Bill Wallace worked for John Belushi for a bit, but it was via Richard Norton. They both went to Mick Fleetwood's party. Some of the stories I've got, Lee, you just wouldn't believe. And John Belushi's on the drums, and he shouts Bill over. He says, "You're that Superfoot guy, aren't you?" He says, "Why don't you, come on tour with us?" And so Bill looked after John Belushi for a bit, mainly to keep him in shape. It wasn't really a bodyguard, but it was Bill eventually that found him dead.
Blimey.
So he'd gone to wake him up one morning. That was his job: get him up, keep him, take him for a bit of exercise. And I think John had, overdosed or something like that. So, but the stories these guys have got, they're unbelievable.
Yeah.
So anyway, I hope, going back to Richard Norton, I hope that people jump on that and take me up on getting him over from Australia to their school, because he's definitely got something to give. I think if any school owner was watching this as well, the school owners do well out of it. Not only do they get a martial art legend of the school, but they can make money out of it as well.
Cool.
And they get a bit of kudos in the local area, like with Bill. Get the newspapers over. Here's a guy, who was the first ever kickboxer, middleweight kickboxer, has got connection with Elvis Presley. All of a sudden, you've got 40, 50 people in your seminar league paying whatever, and the instructor does well. We get paid, and that's that.
As you mentioned there, you mentioned the UK martial arts show where these people are going to be, where people can meet them. Can you tell us a little bit about the UK martial arts show, what it is, and how people get involved and everything that goes on there?
So it's a little bit like an expo. We have different areas, Lee. Like say, you came this year, didn't you? So we have 4 or 5 areas, teaching areas. One area has, let's say, the legends teaching there. This year, is no different. I know in that legend zone, there's a group seminar with Bill Wallace teaching, Cynthia Rothrock teaching, and Don Wilson. They're doing it together. It doesn't get much better than that. In the morning on the same area, you've got Alfred Lewis teaching. Straight after that, you've got Aaron Gasser, the Ginger Ninja, the YouTube sensation.
Yeah.
After that, you've got Mark Stas, the Korean guy from Belgium, doing his wing flow system. That's just one area, so you can go and watch it, or you can actually join in. Then you've got different areas. So you've got like a combat area where there's more kickboxing. You've got like a self-defense zone. You've got a weapon zone. You've got more of a, then you've got like a traditional zone, like karate, let's say traditional arts, Tai Chi. And then we've got stage, which demonstrations all day, both days, back-to-back demonstrations, from 9:30 in the morning to 4:30 at night, in the afternoon, sorry. And a photo area, where you can have your picture took with the people I've mentioned, get their autographs, and then there's the stands where you can get the latest equipment, let's say, or buy a book or whatever. So if you do martial arts, it's a great weekend for any martial artist. It's growing. It's a growing thing. We started it, and the Doncaster Dome where we do it is a massive place. And even if we have a few thousand in there, Lee, it still looks empty. so we just, come January, Lee, I'll start to stress. Yeah, it's a hard thing to fill that room. It is, but it's all right. It pays dividends, and me and Bob do okay out of it. We'll do it for a few more years, I guess, and then let someone else do it. I can step down and say, I've done my bit for martial arts.
It must take a lot of organisation, a lot of headaches, doesn't it, to run something that big?
This year was a worry, Lee, because it landed on the King's coronation.
Yeah.
So we were like, oh my gosh, one, is the venue going to be open? They didn't even know, and so we kept selling tickets. But I think a lot of people are like, I ain't bothered about the coronation. I want to go and do this sort of thing. So, and it was, if you remember, Lee, you're from London anyway, aren't you? It was toned down a little bit, wasn't it? The coronation. It wasn't like, it wasn't in your face. It was okay. There was a few instructors that couldn't come this time because they were having street parties and stuff, but it was literally just a few. We still did all right, considering. We had to work. Thought I'm gonna have to work really hard. It worked out okay. I think Cynthia Ross will come in this year with a massive bonus. She'd not been in the country for so long, and people, couldn't wait to meet her. So we attracted quite a lot of the Comic-Con crowd as well, because of her. Because she's been in, lots of movies. So we had people turning up with lots of DVD covers and posters and stuff like that, wanting them signed, which was great. But yeah, it's a great weekend. At the end of it, we do the Hall of Fame as well. So we literally turn the room around. Everyone's gone, and then that's it. We have like 15 members of staff come in. They put all the tables out. It's turned into a banquet hall, and then we do that, and then that's done by 10, 11 o'clock at night. Go back to the hotel, and then I carry on touring with Bill.
You don't even get a break after that busy weekend.
No, I think he went home Thursday. Well, I saw you on the Sunday, didn't I, at the show? I think I was still with him on the Thursday, and then he went back to Heathrow Airport on Thursday. I think Cynthia went back on the Wednesday, day before, and then Bill carried on teaching. I think we went down to Eastbourne on the Wednesday night, I think it was, and then took him back. But do you know what, Lee? I like seeing new areas, and I've made a lot of friends along the way in different clubs. And when the thing is, when you work with someone like Bill, if he was here now, we wouldn't sit and talk about martial arts. We've got, we talk about other stuff, mainly cars, to be honest. Because Bill loves his cars, and I love my cars. Stuff like that. So, and it's the same when I visit these clubs. A lot of sort of repeat business, let's say, going to clubs that have booked Bill before, and they're just like my mates now, the instructors, and talk about their lives and what they've been up to and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's great. I get to see places, Lee, that I'd never been to before. And you think, right, like this weekend, could have gone anywhere really. Me and my wife, we did, but all of a sudden it changes. If you're going to Eastbourne, let's say, you've got to go to Eastbourne, but you're going to get paid. So you'll make that 200-mile trip, let's say, down there and have a look around, or the next day. Like I know next year, Cynthia, Don, and Bill are in Scotland on the Thursday before the martial arts show. So we're all going up. There's like 3 cars going up. we'll leave Thursday morning. It'd just be great, just like an adventure,
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's great, like I say, I get to. That's the good part of my job. I get to hang out with these people that I watched growing up, So,
Yeah.
and they're just, you know what, Lee? They're just like regular people. They're not real divas or anything like that. In fact, the opposite. They all know they're there to work, and they'll help people as best they can.
I think that comes with the martial arts side of it, though, doesn't it? Rather than a pop star that's out there to sort of, put their name and ego first. Martial artists are more intrigued to helping one another, aren't they? And I think that sort of background plays effect on them, doesn't it?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it is. I've met quite a lot of sort of famous people along the way, and like I said earlier about boxers, it was interesting, sort of, hanging out with them for, even if it was like a half a day or 3/4 a day, they were a completely different breed to martial artists. They are. I'm not saying every boxer is, but I think, that fame thing can definitely change people. There's a famous martial artist, Jean LaBelle, and I read something about him, and I think he taught Bruce Lee how to grapple. He was a judo guy, wasn't he? One of the real tough guy. And
the godfather of grappling, they call him, don't they?
Yeah, I read something about him saying he never ever said, "I'm this good." He'd say how good his teachers were, and he said how good his students were. And that, to me, that's great. That stuck with me. And I always, thank my instructors for what, I've still got decent skills there, and they instilled that in me. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have. So, and hopefully my students will say the same.
Paul, just a quick question there. Just step back a bit where you're talking about Bill and Cynthia and stuff. When you're taking them around, do you get much hassle from, like, if you go to dinner somewhere, do you get a lot of people hassling you and stuff for photos, and how do you control that?
Do you know what? They don't recognise her.
Oh, really?
And it's probably because, let's say we go to a restaurant, which sometimes we don't have time for restaurants. We all either want to get back, so we'll fast food it or whatever. But once we went to watch. Me and Bill went to watch. There was me, Bill's mate Kenny, and one of my mates went to watch the new James Bond film. We went to watch it, and Bill pulled out. When we're at the till, I went to pay, and Bill pulled out this American Equity card or some Actors Union card or something like that. And in America, you don't have to pay if you've been in films or something, like if you've got this card. And the receptionist, the girl behind the counter said, "No, we don't really do that there. And let me ask my manager." And the manager come out, and he had a look, and he said, "No, we don't really." And he looked at the card. He went, "Oh, you're Bill Superfoot Wallace, right?" So all of a sudden, he's like, "You're my idol." And all of a sudden, this guys, you're not going to pay anything you want, popcorn, Coke, sweets. That was it, and that was in Wakefield. So yeah, the people at the venues, obviously, with Cynthia this year, it was difficult at the martial arts show. Everyone wanted a picture with her. And at one point, we got a guy to stand with her because it was, people were just really invading her. And she wanted paying per picture, you see. She wasn't pointing at me for that. She's like, I'm here to work. I want to get paid for my autographs. I want to get paid for my pictures, which is fair enough. If you've got to that level, I get that. So, with her, it was different. I met, I think the worst I saw was Jean-Claude Van Damme, and my instructor brought him over first, and he did. This must have been a time where Van Damme wasn't doing anything, And then so they kept a connection, and we went to watch a Van Damme film at it was in Soho Square. I think it was like Fox Distribution Centre or something. And we were there really as fans. My teacher rang me, said, "Paul, can you get a coach load of people to come watch this Van Damme film?" It's not that long ago. It was about 12 years ago. I'm sure it was 2010, something like that. And the film was Eagle Path, which never got released.
Yeah, I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, so we drove, we all went down on the coach. I'm like, yeah, no problems. I said, when is it? Tomorrow. Okay, so I'm on the phone all day we filled this coach, and there's Van Damme there. We watched this film, and we were there. There was investors on the front 2 rows. This small, really tiny cinema. It literally just fit us all in, really. And the purpose of it was for us to be sort of super fans, I think. But anyway, we got to have our picture took with him and chat with him after and stuff like that. But then people at the actual place that worked at this place soon found out that Van Damme was in the building. And then people from outside saw that Van Damme was in there. All of a sudden, wow, he's just surrounded by people, you know. And that's when, you know, you think, would I want to be famous? Would I want that constantly?
Yeah.
You know, constantly. I felt a bit sorry for him, to be fair. I didn't, you know.
Yeah.
But so no, I've not really had it with Bill. Cynthia, definitely. There was a little bit of that. So, I mean, next year we've got Cobra from the Gladiators coming. I think.
Oh yeah.
If it would have been 30 years ago, let's say 20, I don't know, was it 20, 25 years ago, Gladiators, I think we'd have probably need security around Cobra, definitely from women. But he's changed a bit now, as Michael, you know.
Yeah,
but
we was going to do an
great
interview with him a little while ago. He's down that way, sort of over Bromley way, sort of that way, just in
You
Kent,
actually
isn't
do
it?
one, did you?
We haven't done it yet. It was my partner Roy. He's been talking to him. I think he lives local to him. So yeah, it was in. We've spoke to him about it. Yeah.
I heard years ago that he was a really nice guy, and I spoke to him quite a lot recently. And he is. You know, you'll have a great time with him. So, but again, it comes from, you know, he's a martial artist. That's his background.
Yeah,
So,
he was the one that used to do the spinning kick, wasn't he, at the beginning?
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, even my wife knows it. She's like, because she doesn't know who all these other people are I bring to my event. You see, she's like, when I told her, she's like, I know him. I actually know someone that's coming to your event.
Paul, when is your next show, and where can people get tickets, and when can they get them? And
May the 4th and 5th at the Doncaster Dome. If they go on the Facebook page, the UK Martial Arts Show, they'll get all the updates, who's coming, eventually the schedule, what demonstrations there are, who's making appearances, what days they'll be on, that sort of thing. And there'll be links on there. But the website is www.theukmas.co.uk. Definitely a must for all martial artists, definitely.
Yeah, I can vouch for that. I've had a great time there. It's been brilliant.
Try and, you know, I've mentioned like a few people, but we try and, you know, broaden. We'll try and pick, you know, demonstrations from all styles, like Thai boxing, Kung Fu, you know, Wing Chun, Taekwondo, Karate, you know, XMA, the new stuff. I know we've got a tournament this year, which we had years ago, and those guys are coming back, which were brilliant. Their tournament was amazing, you know. So we try and have something for everyone there. You know, if you practice, let's say judo, there might be a judo demonstration. If you practice jiu-jitsu, there'll be a jiu-jitsu demonstration. Not just that, the stage area it's probably the biggest stage at the minute in the UK for people to say this is me, you know. And there's probably 200-300 chairs around that stage. It's a huge area, and so people tend to come and they'll, you know, with their students or whatever, they'll give their best demonstration, let's say. But even if you do kung fu, it's you know yourself, if you won't just look forward to the kung fu demonstrations, you'll look forward to the karate demonstration, you'll look forward to the taekwondo demonstrations, tang soo do demonstrations. It's nice to see different styles,
Yeah, I
So,
think as well, Paul, like we spoke about earlier, years ago, like you say, you wouldn't even think of doing a different discipline, let alone or going to another club. It would be a no-no. Where now, all martial arts work hand in hand together. So it's great for like someone that does karate, kickboxing, to go and try a different one, because they might like it. Unless you try it, you never know, do you? So it's a great opportunity to get involved in another martial art.
If people do watch this, Lee, and well done if you managed to get to this point of this podcast. When people do go, what we charge is literally, I think, is for nothing. They pay an entrance fee, and if they want to train, they pay for that on top. But it's only one fee, so you literally you could train all day for like the entrance fee and the seminar fee. Which would work out for an adult about £45, I think. Bear in mind, you could get up, go train with Alfred Lewis in the morning. Then you could go and do some weapons training, with the Eskrima guys or something. Then you could go back over there, do, in that area. Then you can go and watch some demonstrations. Then you can go do some more training. Then you can do some more training. Then you can have your lunch, do some more. You could train literally all day. And if you've ever gone on a super course, let's say, with someone, if this one's got a massive guest at the school, which I know, taking Bill to clubs, some clubs charge £50. We've got Bill Wallace coming next Tuesday night, it's £50. It's not even that, and you can train all day with numerous people. It's as much as your body can take,
Yeah.
So, and the instructors are given, they're pretty much told as well, look, you're going to get people from different disciplines. Don't kill them. They're going to be training all day. Give them a taster of what you can do. Show off a little bit, So don't think, there's no way we can do all this, because you will. People literally train all day. They do. So and they take a lot from it, And I applaud the instructors that encourage their students, that will give them a leaflet and say, go to this. Some instructors are still a bit like, I don't know, closed doors. Don't go and watch that guy down there, because he's better than me. So
I was about to say, the only people with that mentality are the people that are scared to see that someone's better than them, and they don't want to lose their students. But
yeah, it is a bit of an old-fashioned sort of old-fashioned way, really, isn't it?
Paul, just quickly before we go there, before we round it up, can I just ask you, what does the future hold for you now in martial arts?
I mean, I'm forever, I still get excited when I get new students, Lee. I had a couple of new teachers this year, so we've opened 3 or 4 new clubs this year. I still get excited, when my students, for them when they get their black belts. So more of what I've done all my life, just maintaining that good standard of karate. Keep putting on events that I think that people like. I hope that people like, and listen to the people, and hopefully I get it right, and they come to our events and go, that was great, thank you very much. That's all we want. We loved it, and we're happy with that. So yeah, that's it. I'm still only 51. I've got a few years in me yet.
Yeah, mate.
If Bill can teach at 77, I don't know when I'll retire myself, but hopefully I'll overlook my school forever and a day.
Yeah.
So because I've had it for all these years, let's say, my own school. So hopefully I'll even in my 70s, I'll still be overlooking it. There's no reason for me to quit,
We're starting to wind it up there. Thank you ever so much for coming and sharing your story with us. It's been appreciated.
Lee, you're doing a great job, and it was nice to catch up with you finally at the show this year, and finally catch up with you now as well.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate this, Lee, and I should share it on on all my platforms, and hopefully people won't be too bored, or offended. So,
Lovely. Thanks, Paul. Take care, mate.
thank you. Good luck with stuff, mate. Thanks so much.
Thanks, mate.